is as we feel like we're raising up, we should be raising other people up. And we talked about this last week, where we talked about collaboration, and we talked about, cooperating or collaborating over competition. And one of the things this leads to, when people start collaborating more and more and more and more, and I've seen it over and over again, we've seen it throughout history, we could pull up case after case after case, is innovation. And so today's topic that I get to discuss with amazing co-host Jim T. Chong and the ever awesome MVP of everything, Mike Van Pelt.
I don't know if it's everything.
Let's make sure we tell your brother that. But no, we're gonna be talking about leaders are innovators. And it's funny, this is another one of those words or topics that when I bring it up in discussions with other leaders, they start immediately going to the people who have innovated something or created something or invented something. They immediately go to the Jeff Bezos,
that's right,
and the Albert Einsteins and things. It's like, that's so very true. It's so very true. In addition to that, though, what are we doing to innovate, or if you want to say even reinvent the wheel sometimes, if you have to keep things going? How do we spur these ideas? How do we allow for these things to happen? Prince EA has an amazing video where it talks about the richest place on earth. And I don't remember if I've explained this on here or not. Mike's already shaking his head. Jim's shaking his head. It's the graveyard. That's where so many amazing ideas have gone to die. And it's because in so many cases, as leaders, we've not encouraged innovation, which by default would make us innovators too. Why? Because we're collaborating in that. We're bringing that forth. And so, Mike, thinking about these different things, whether it's looking at it from perspective of like an Elon Musk or Albert Einstein or whoever, or if it's looking at how we can innovate together, what are some different key components of that word, especially when we're looking at leaders, especially when we're looking at building the teams, the families, the groups around us, so we all rise up together? What are some different core components of that stick out to you the most when you think about innovation?
Yeah. You brought up my brother. I just have to give a quick shout out to Matt. Talk about innovation. He had knee replacement surgery last week. Now, listen, I was much faster than him anyway throughout life. So now he has no chance of catching me, but he's got a very innovative knee. Amazing. He's doing all right. Yeah. Knee replacement surgery. And isn't that crazy about innovation? He has surgery in the morning, right? Has his knee completely taken out, replaced, and he's walking on it in the afternoon. Yeah, that is mind-boggling to me. But I think that starts with, this innovation. And what's funny was I was doing a lot of research last week, coincidentally enough, around vision. And I think it's really hard to separate vision and innovation. I think that they pretty much are equals to me. And I think that, these are things that as leaders, we need to encourage in our organizations, because you either innovate in your organization or die. And what's interesting was, Chris, you and I were in a mastermind a couple of weeks ago, and I brought up the whole idea of the power of asking questions, and innovation came up. And so, which kind of fascinated me a little bit, but I've heard that before. And so I think that innovation and vision really comes from asking deep questions in order to begin to work on those answers and be creative, whether it's in your personal life, in your business life, or whatever the case may be. So, those two words, well, it's not a word, it's a phrase, asking questions and that vision that comes along with innovation, I think is key.
And I think to add to that, Mike, and that's a very good point. I actually just added to this list visionaries, and then I'll have to look on that where it's going to go, because we have talked about this several times without even mentioning the words. And it's funny how that works when you talk about leadership, because when you say leadership, it is such a broad category. one of the things that I was thinking about when you're talking about this, it reminded me of different training drills that we would do on the fire department. And I remember our one of our officers was sent down to the training grounds to work with one of the recruit classes. Not uncommon for them to take guys from the floor to go work with them. I mean, why wouldn't you? You don't have that experience out there. And there were some things that they were doing that they just kind of changed and tweaked a couple deals on, like how to take the hose line to say an apartment fire versus a house fire, because there are noticeable differences. On a house, for the most part, you may have a wide open front yard where you can flake the line or set out the line in a good, easy, smooth way. Apartment complexes, not always the case. And we're going through it, and it was going so well. And I was standing there, and I'll tell you what, we had a tight knit crew. I mean, even with having a rookie there, we were tight knit. We worked together, we trained together, we talked together, all these things. And I was like, this is a great thing. And so we all tried it, which was good, because that's a lot of times what that happens is something will come out from recruit class or from the training academy, however you want to look at it. And they'll say, hey guys, try this. This is something we saw someone else doing or went to a conference, whatever. And being the innovative mind or the visionary mind of our crews working together and doing more, was one of the things we did was each of us had to do it. And that's one of the things, Mike, you made the comment about asking questions. Yes, I encourage asking questions. I want to add something to that, though. Just say, show me. Say, show me. Have them show you. And the thing was I looked at it and I thought for a second. I actually kept it myself. It's like, I got to try something different here. They're like, what? I said, I love how we did this. So I want to try one thing. And I did a loop around another object. And they looked at me and they said, why did you do that? And it still worked, but it took a little bit longer. I said, because at this, and this location, there's a post, or the way the porch is, I can't remember, where cars would be in an apartment. Middle of the day, you may have a wide open parking lot. Middle of the night, you don't. And so we took a look at it, and we realized there was a couple of people at our station that had not had to contend with that specific area before. So we immediately got done. We all tried it. We did it both ways. We figured out a couple different ways to make us a little smoother, a little faster, because time is critical as a fireman, right? And we went back to that area where I was talking about. And sure enough, how we were originally doing it would not have worked as well. Would it have worked? Yes. It wouldn't have worked as well. But because we were willing to have this collaboration between each other and innovate with what we were doing, and knowing the area, we passed that on to so many other crews and so many other stations that it went department wide. And now, instead of just going, yeah, okay, that works, I'm good, and then showing up and it not working as well as it could, that could have kept us from being as effective as we needed to be. And that can happen in any course. And so, Jim, when we think about innovation and technology, especially, it's one of the things I always appreciate about you. You definitely know technology better than I do. You're like, Chris, did you try this? Chris, did you try that? And it comes back to full circle to Mike's point of asking people. Jim's a great leader and saying, hey, have you tried this? And then, of course, me not being the tech guy, I have to go, hey, Jim, I need you to show me. So, Jim, why is it so important to you as leaders to not be afraid to ask those questions and to show people different ways of doing things that may innovate or re-innovate what they're already doing and make things better?
Well, I'll tell you, technology is all about, is all about efficiency and all about automation by design. And understanding technology is so key, because there are so many solutions today that if you understand and you're able to try different things as well and be aware of certain things, you're just going to be a lot more efficient. That's just a true statement. A lot of people are still doing it, certain things, the older fashion, but anytime there's a technology that's available, it's usually to solve a problem. Many problems that people have are being solved today. And so I think it's just knowing where to knock, knowing what is available, and building on that knowledge as well. You're never going to have it all down, but it's all about really being open to technology, being open to innovation. Like, I love that, just kind of naturally came out here, but really being able to try different things. And so that's why I love being able to ask people if you've tried this or that, because probably they haven't thought of it because they're not familiar with it. But the more you get involved with something, the more you start implementing it, you see how all this stuff starts to connect together. So really, this just is the future. That's why it's so important. It is the future to be able to understand technology, not just know the tools, but why they do what they do and what problem they're solving. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does, and it brings me to another point, which I'm glad you said it, was how many things. This kind of goes back to what the Prince EA I'll call it video / poem that he did on this, is how many different things are out there that everybody goes, that's already been done, or the opposite of, well, I don't know why you would ever try that. It's not going to work. We have this, and it really speaks to my heart as a leader for the people who don't quit, for the people who had the perseverance to say, no, this is an innovation. It's going to work. Now, yes, are there some out there that just absolutely did not work? We're not going to work from the beginning. Yeah, but at least they tried it. I mean, how many times have we seen leaders or other people? Maybe you're a leader if you're trying to impress something on somebody. You're a leader if you're trying to impact somebody or you're trying to influence them. Whether you have power, rank, title, position, any of that, doesn't matter. If you're inserting yourself into an opinion of something somebody's doing, you're making yourself a leader. Good or bad, right now, well, it matters because I don't want you to be a bad leader, but not the point. The point is when you're inserting yourself into something and you start telling people that's not going to work. Why isn't it going to work? Now, go to some organizational things where you get a young person or a newer person in the company say, hey, have you tried this, this, and this? And someone goes, yeah, it's not going to work. And they leave it at that. I'm going to ask you why. Why isn't it going to work?
Can I bring up something, Chris? Very interesting. Matter of fact, I haven't talked to you, Mike, about this. I know we have some great online discussions. There is some technology. I'm just telling you about technology thing about this. Do you realize streaming is a technology? Streaming, what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Do you realize that people are monetizing streaming?
Oh, yeah.
Do you realize that?
Yeah.
Movies. Now, here's what you may not know. Do you realize, have you ever heard of things like Netflix and Hulu and so those programs that you pay for subscriptions? Do you realize you literally can get a subscription per year for under $50, under $50 a year to have access to the same movies that Hulu, Netflix directly access? Are you aware of that?
Yeah, and that's the thing with innovation is that so many people, I guarantee you, whenever they came up with that, somebody said, oh, it won't work. Take you brought up, is it Netflix? Yeah, you brought up Netflix. You realize at one point in time, the guys at Netflix approached Blockbuster. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
And they said, hey, we'll give you this, this, and this. We'll still take care of the mailing the videos and all this and that stuff. We just want your help in growing it. And Blockbuster told them it'll never work. There's one Blockbuster left in America. One.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
one.
even after
Why?
Netflix, I remember that whole mail-in thing. I want to get back to what I was going to share, but that whole mail-in thing about Netflix. Then you also had as well Redbox. Remember Redbox came out?
Still here.
Those little things. And then the Netflix where they I believe Netflix is the one where they sent the CDs at that point originally, didn't they?
Yeah.
And so it started with that, but look what we have today in streaming. But what I was saying, think about what I'm saying. You pay for a subscription for Netflix. And I literally just discovered this weekend. Do you realize there's a repository of videos on the internet that Netflix also grabs from that you can have access to all the same movies from Hulu, Netflix, and stuff for, think about this, $50 a year. And you can get access to all that. Is that pretty incredible?
Yeah.
Think about that. Instead of paying $20 subscription. Now, the only reason why I know is because I was open for innovation. I wasn't saying, oh, that's it. And I was really skeptical. My one of my friends, he started with, those streamings where you look for a movie and it will find all the movies on the internet. Some are bad links, some are pirated, all that stuff. That exists out there too. But can you imagine people are paying $20 a month when literally they can pay for the repository for $50 a year. Think of what I'm saying there. But that's called innovation, understanding, what technology does, what it's capable of. Because you can also save a lot of money and also innovate and provide good solutions that can make you a lot of money if you stay innovative. And then we take it down to the human nature sort of stuff. Hey, that's not possible. Let's add the word yet. That doesn't stop people from trying. What we thought was impossible is now possible. We have these things called phones. Isn't it amazing what we can do with this today? When if somebody would have said, that will never be the case. Crazy.
Yeah, and and Jim, you bring up a good point, because there are so many times you look back over history. Now, I would say we are probably more open to the word innovation and things that are innovative or re-innovative, such as the movie thing you just said. That's more of a re-innovation. That's someone saying, okay, yeah, you did this. Check mark. I'm going to raise the level here, raise the bar. But to be able to sit back as a leader, think about all those out there that had the rank, title, and position that told somebody it won't work, it can't be done, and could have had a piece of the pie. Or it never came out at all because they allowed that one, maybe two, maybe even 10 people in a boardroom or however many sit back and tell them it can't be done. Think about Amazon, Jeff Bezos. Guarantee you there's a ton of people told him it ain't going to work. He's the back and forth second or third richest person in the world now because of it. And I can tell you right now, about every other vehicle that comes down the street, my house, is an Amazon van. So who's laughing?
In Kansas,
now?
Right?
You look at,
too much traffic.
Yeah.
I've been here 3 times today.
Yeah, exactly. That's just Mike's house, not his neighbor's. But sorry, Mike, it was there. But no, I mean, honestly, and you even look at Apple. EA Sokovitz at Givers University always tells us, Mike, that he always brings up the Apple story. The accountant. He owned 10% stock in Apple. Said, "Yeah, I gave it up. I sold it for $1,500. Thought they couldn't do it. Didn't think it'd work. If he did nothing else the rest of his life, he'd be worth over $100 million right now." Think of all these times there are people out there kicking themselves, or it's just gone. It's just gone because they refuse to believe innovation was possible. The first rocket ships that went up into space are cell phones, which we need to come up with another term for these, by the way. I think somebody called it a pocket computer one time, or mini computer. It's not a cell phone anymore. Let's be honest. That's like literally one of the last functions that gets used for them now. Is more powerful than the first rockets that went into space. All because somebody was willing to innovate or listen to innovation. And that's a key component. Remember, all the way back when we were talking about leaders as servants, at the start of Leaders Are Skilled, was listening. We can listen and we can collaborate and we can effectively connect with those around us. This is something I pose to every one of you watching, everybody out there I work with. This comes up almost every time. What can you do to innovate? What can you do to learn about doing more innovations? Mike's got the book, The Art of Connection, over his shoulder. I got to be honest with you. Prior to having ever met the group of people that brought me to it, which actually I huge thank you to you two, because I wouldn't have met them. There's collaboration right there. Did it directly impact either one of these guys? Maybe, maybe not. Wasn't the point. I'd have never have thought about a collaboration book. Honestly. And somebody out there at some point in time said, you know what? You don't have to have one author per book. Look at college textbooks. They got like 18 of them sometimes. And I still have no idea what the book said. No, I'm kidding. Actually, there was one.
No, you're not.
There was one that was pretty rough. I mean, kudos to those that wrote it. Boy, it was rough. But, the thing is, and Mike, I want to bring this back to you to come full circle about just asking and communicating with each other. Is it really that hard? Is it really that difficult or challenging or competitiveness to sit back and say, oh, but if Jim innovates this area before I do, no, I got to squash it because I don't want Jim to be better than me or whoever. Is it really worth it?
Well, I don't know that it's worth it, but this is what goes on every day. I mean, I'm probably a lot like you at this stage, Chris. I get told no every day because people would rather go with the herd than look at something different, you know. And I think that if we're going to be innovative, there has to be a willingness to learn and the flexibility to adopt new things that come along in our lives and in the marketplace. You know, the marketplace is ever changing. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, you know, you talk about the phone and uh, a spaceship landing on the moon. It's absolutely stunning, really, to think that there's been that much transformation occur over 30, 40 years, that we now have more technology in a phone than we did on a ship that went into space and landed on a planet. And so, you know, I don't think we could take that for granted in our lives or in our small businesses. I am constantly trying to innovate and figure out how to do it better. And sometimes that in and of itself is kind of painful, but because it's a lot to take in. But that's where collaboration comes into play. And just sometimes having the ability to sit with other people and say, listen, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think? And, you
Yep.
know, and try to work through it. But you know, I think that innovation starts with the ability to keep learning, the desire to learn, the desire to be curious.
Yep.
And can I do this better? You know, if not, I mean, for a wide range of reasons. Well, look, can I make more money? Can I just be a better person? Can I, you know, I mean, I got a bookshelf full of books behind me. How much of that I actually applied? Nobody answered that question. Okay. So, but I think this willingness to learn is a key component to this whole idea uh, of the world around us.
Yes.
Well, and Jim, I want to jump it right over to you. How much better of an understanding could we have with one another if we were willing to have those conversations and we were willing to allow people to share
Mm.
their ideas that could just reinvigorate or reinvent or re-innovate or create a whole new innovation to what we're doing and how we're doing things. I mean, we just would start sharing more with each other. How much better would this world be? Your thoughts on that?
You know, in terms of just listening and learning from each other, is that your question
Yeah, yeah.
specifically? Yeah. Well, of course, we would be in a much better place because everything moves forward if we all accept the fact that we don't know everything, whether or not we're true man. And right, Mike?
However you define it, sir.
All right. See, I love that. I love that. You know, we just all have fun together. But in all, I was just messing with them. But in all sincerity, I mean, we build on each other, and everything we think, we have a perspective, and when we are open to learning, we can build on top of each other than just building like a silo. Because if I'm
Mm.
not listening to anyone, if I'm not learning from people, then I'm just building only with what I know versus accumulating a wealth of knowledge. Now, you don't have to agree with everything somebody says, but learning from them, applying the things that do apply with where you are at. Because truly, I mean, bringing things together is really important. Great example. Great example. Um, you know, in karaoke, the space, you know, you guys know I'm not trying to just do bad singing in bars, you know, but really, we this last weekend we had a phenomenal time. You know, from one of the small casinos, they just said, "Hey, we want to book you for multiple months now," but that only came about because I was listening to different ideas. People were contributing on how it should be done, and that's why we're able to stand up above and beyond. That's why we are. I'm going to say this: we are premier, and we provide, I believe, a superior product than what's out there that a lot of people provide because it's a culmination of a lot of ideas. Because I didn't come with it on my own. It's assimilating and learning and accepting things that made sense. But I still said no to a lot of ideas, but it doesn't mean that I didn't learn from what they were saying and I wasn't listening. I was just applying it to how it applies for what I need. And I get to be the the master of that ship. You know what I mean? In terms of that project.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You said something that's so key. You're listening to them. And coming back to something I was saying earlier about if someone comes to you and says, hey, what do you think of this, and this? Do you just look at them and go, nah, it's not going to work, and walk off? Or do you explain to them why? So many other times, outside of just flat out saying no, completely avoiding a whole new topic or anything like that, is yes, there are times maybe you did try it. This new person comes in and says, hey, what do you think of this? Instead of saying, nah, it doesn't work, and walking off, hey, talk to them about it. You don't need to spend an hour on it, or 2 or 3, whatever. Just say, yeah, we actually did try that. Appreciate you thinking, appreciate you playing the video forward, appreciate you picturing what's next. Keep doing that. Because who's to say that 6 months from now they don't go, you know what? I actually tried this one time, or saw it actually happen, where they were trying to reorganize the machines. It was in a industrial setting. And someone said, hey, if we just put this mat here, it'll solve it. And they said, yeah, we tried that. It actually didn't work. And this new kid comes in, excuse me, and says, hey, what do you think about putting the mat over there? I say, yeah, it's not going to work. Why not? Well, because we tried it. People started tripping. We couldn't make the corner with the other equipment for it. He's like, oh, okay. And then he went over. He waited a while and kept thinking, there's got to be a solution for this. He grabs a tape measure. Measures it off because there had to be certain safety parameters around everything, including distances from walls and stuff like that. Measures it out. Says, hey, I got a whole new way of fixing this. And they said, what's that? He goes, move it back 6 inches. And someone goes, well, we can't do that. He goes, yeah, we can. They said, no, we can't. It'll be too close to the wall. He goes, no, it's not. I just measured it. Nobody measured it. One of the most fundamental things, right? In a setting where you may have to move stuff, measure, right? Or is it cut twice, measure once, or measure twice, cut once? I can't even remember. But I'm kidding. I know better. But no one had measured it. The simplest of things. And so they did. They measured it. They were able to put the anti-slip mat down, and everything worked great. And then the next thing you know, production actually sped up because people didn't have to do this little circus dance of a figure 8 around things. They're able to go straight to it. Simplest of things. But if we're not willing to listen to each other, not willing to do like what Jim said, there's going to be times it's no. Well, give them a reason why. No, we're not going to buy that. Why not? Well, because it costs $15 million. You got that in your pocket? No? Okay. We don't need it now. We will when we have the $15 million. Okay, cool. Come back when that happens, right? Doesn't matter what it is. I didn't want to close out with this yet, but I'm going to because we're on time here. But even look at, because we haven't talked about the home yet, and that's one of the things we promised to talk about on here as much as possible. Think about your kids and their imagination. And think about what happens as they grow up. How many times, and I've said it, I'm guilty as charged. I said, it's time to grow up, kiddos. Got to quit playing like that. Man, if everyone in their life was told that, we wouldn't have half the innovation we have these days. We wouldn't have half the inventions we have these days. We kill creativity because of our own lack of creativity. Instead of embracing it and seeing, what could we do next? What could we do next, Mike? Final thoughts from you, and how do we connect with you?
Well, I was laughing. I looked over at my desk. That is a drawing with a circle and arrows, but it's innovation. It's exactly what it is, and that's where it all starts. So I think we have to be careful not to complicate what innovation is, first and foremost. So that coming from a guy who likes to complicate everything, but maybe that's beside the point. I don't know. So you can you can check out my website, and my podcast is on that website, truemanlifecoaching.com, and you can always reach out to me at mike@truemanlifecoaching.com.
Thank you, Mike and Jim. Closing thoughts, and then of course, how do we connect with you on the 1,500 different spots on your website? So, I'm sorry.
Well, first off,
okay. Here's the thing. I will say this: that website is amazing, everybody. It really is, and there's a lot on there. But it's because
zoomturtle.com.
It is zoomturtle.com, but it is because of innovation that we even have that option. So I joke with him, but I did that on purpose because I want everybody to understand. It used to just be you had what, one thing on there, maybe your picture. Now look what we can do. So Jim,
Yeah.
final thoughts from you.
Yeah, innovation is so very key. Thank you for bringing it up. It really inspires me. And we really need to think about innovative ways to do things, not doing it the way things have always been done. Think about that, guys. What problem are you solving? Definitely business proposition, but doing things that have not been done before. Think about this. One of the most incredible, in my mind, products is a French fry. Now, what I heard was that somebody dropped a potato in the fryer. Now it's commonplace to fry things. They thought, wow, this actually tastes pretty good. Even small things like that are obvious to us today. It all started with an idea and an innovation. Hey, I wonder what this tastes like. Oyster, innovative, right? I mean, who wants to eat this? Here, look at an oyster. If you've seen an oyster, somebody's got to be innovator. Somebody tasting it and eating it first time
I'm leaning
and
towards the
living
French
to
fry.
tell. Innovation, right? And so, great topic today, Chris. I always like how innovative you are in the topics. Talk about true leadership. Leaders are love it because I know that's something that you own. You can reach me at jimtchong.com, jimtchong.com, or go right to zoomturtle.com, see all the things that I'm involved with. But jimtchong.com to reach me.
Yeah, and Jim was leading to something that I did want to close with. I wanted to spend a little more time with the kiddo thing, and then I looked at the clock and went, woo, we needed 3 weeks on this one. If you are reading a book, think an innovator. If you're using a pen, think an innovator. You're watching this show, think an innovator. Think those that didn't quit. Thomas Edison, he didn't fail in how to make a light bulb. He found 1,000 different ways to not make a light bulb, right? And here's the thing. You gotta be grateful. Jim, you talked about the uniqueness of the French fry. Think of the uniqueness of something that many of us take advantage of. It's coffee. It's coffee. You want to talk about the most simplistic thing to be innovative about? And I'm not talking about all the different ways we make coffee and all the different types of drinks and stuff. Coffee was originally found by some shepherds who couldn't figure out why, when their goats and sheep were eating these berries off these plants, that all of a sudden they were a little extra hyper. And so one of them finally said, you know what? I'm going to risk it. And he ate the cherry with coffee bean inside. And all of a sudden he was wide awake. That's a raw bean. So how did we end up with coffee? Cowboy once accidentally left his bag of green, magical, keep you up at night or during the day beans next to the campfire, and it roasted the beans. Now, just prior to that, though, they had started soaking them in water because they were tired of eating the bitterness of the bean. If you've ever eaten a coffee bean, it's not the greatest tasting thing on planet Earth. I've done it. I used to work for a coffee company. Simple. But now look, every other corner, there's a Starbucks or Scooters or whatever else is out there. I forget all the names. You've got probably, I'm not even going to say it, 1,000 different combinations of ways we make coffees, ways we grind them, ways we process them. Simplest of thing. One shepherd grabbed it off the tree and went, hey, I'm a wide awake. It's the simplest of things that we take for granted. But there's also those times where we also ignore it. So don't do that. Be a leader. Be a true leader. Be open. Be willing. Be authentic and listen. Also, be willing to give good feedback. Say, show me. Things like that. You can always reach me, Chris at eaglefireandrichmond.com, or my website, www.eaglefireandrichmond.com. Love having leadership chats. Really love this time with you guys. We're over time, so I'm going to let it go from here. Next week, I'll plan on us being here. But until then, and what we'll be talking about? Oh, this speaks to innovation. Leaders are toolboxes or resources. There's a couple different ways to look at that. How do we apply the very things that we're using and saying to do with those that we tell to do it? Until next week, appreciate you all. Have your best day ever by making every day great. Remembering Kent never did. God bless us all.